going on, everyone? Thank you for listening, downloading yet a new episode. We're getting so close to 100 of the Retro Gamers. Larry here. Anthony's not. He's halfway around the world. He's making his trek around the world, as we all know. But for week 2 of 3 weeks of No Anthony, we do have a man who actually ended up being inadvertently a thorn in my side for the majority of these episodes of the Retro Gamers, and a man that started the movement, the craze, that ended up becoming hashtag vbsux. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard him talk about him before. I still owe him an HDMI cable. Charlie, ladies and gentlemen. Charlie, how are you?
Yeah, why don't you tell everybody what t-shirt I'm wearing?
That is the hashtag vbsux, the Retro Gamers, which you can find at tchip.com right now as we speak.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for that introduction. Thorn on the side. Maybe I won't call it that much because I would be there every day then. But I cannot take credit for creating the hashtag because A, it's not a hashtag, it's a pound sign. And B, Larry created it. I just ran away with it because you thought I broke your Virtual Boy when you bought it at the Long Island.
I don't think did I accuse you? I may have accused you.
Yes, you did. Because I actually was going to help you look for one, but then you said that, and then, the tables turned. For those of you that don't remember or didn't see the video, Larry and Anthony were recording live from it, and I came down there and I surprised Anthony by bringing my wife Chrissy, who he hadn't seen in eons. So I'm the one that you hear yelling VB sucks as I ran across, grabbed Larry's table, and grabbed his Virtual Boy. And as you see the look of horror in his face when someone else took it and ran with it while Anthony's dying on the floor. So that's how I met Larry in person.
I didn't know who you were. So
Exactly.
I was completely thrown off guard.
Yeah, but then I took over for a little bit while Anthony and Chrissy were catching up for a little bit, and then he totally destroyed me in Blades of Steel.
Yeah, that was a rough go around.
17-7. It was a football score, but I won most of the fights, so I have some street cred.
That's good. Sometimes it's you got to pick and choose your battles.
Yeah.
That was fun though. The Long Island Retro Expo. Actually, next one's coming up soon. We'll be talking about that with the weeks to come.
We'll definitely be there again.
But no, ultimately, you're not. I don't blame you. You're not the reason for that stupid Virtual Boy for not working. I will blame the Revolution, who are no longer around. I'm not saying that's good or bad, but I almost got my hands on it again.
What, they closed their shop, or what happened?
No, what happened, actually, Game On, the place I go to all the time, ended up buying out their, not buying them out as a store, just bought out their inventory. And I guess the Revolution just either moved or closed or something. And Game On didn't take over, but just, took their inventory. And I remember talking to the guys there, and they're like, yeah, we got a couple of Virtual Boys. I'm like, just out of curiosity, is one of them, like, the left lens don't work? And the guy's like, yeah. I'm like, is there a broken leg with it? He's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, I bought that a few months ago and then returned it. But they had already tried fixing it, couldn't fix it, and already scrapped it. I would have
in all seriousness, I do actually keep an eye on them out here because we have a couple of retro game shops out here, and I do kind of peruse. Since people don't know where I live in eastern Pennsylvania. I live just north of the Lehigh Valley and south of the 7th Borough, also known as the Poconos. So we are starting to see more retro game shops up here. I'll give a shout out to one that I like to go to that I discovered. I only got to go there once and only once. Doghouse Gaming down in Quakertown, Pennsylvania, at the Quakertown Farmers Market every weekend. They have good prices on stuff, and they let Mary play Super Mario 3 the whole time we were there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet when that's kind of how Game On does as well. You can go in and you can play what you want. You can try out what you want, and that's cool. Just to let them, especially the younger generation. I from seeing your posts and all joking aside with the mini Famicom that you got, and seeing that your daughter playing it, it's just really cool to see that next gen of humans playing old gen systems.
So he keeps asking to play Donkey Kong, so. It's a little tough for us because when I was her age, that's when I started playing Nintendo. I was about 6, 7 years old, and I got addicted to it. So it's one of those things I want to make sure that doesn't happen to her because, like most normal kids her age, once you put her in front of the TV, she becomes a damn zombie, and it takes 3 times before anything reacts. And Chrissy says hi.
Hello. I saw the hand.
Okay. And it wasn't flipping you off, so it's not a bad thing.
No, I'm used to it, luckily, so it'll be okay if it even did happen.
You know who I work for? Of course I'm used to it.
Don't even get me started.
Exactly.
So glad to actually have you on now for the whole episode, because it was cool to have you on for that moment, that little mini hostile takeover. And
it wasn't a hostile takeover. It was more of a sub-in.
Kind of Rippo just tagged you in real quick, and you did good. I always said, and I've been waiting to get you back on now. So this is now finally the moment we got, and
I'm still waiting for the 10-foot cable.
That eventually, in due time.
I don't know what's going to come first: Anthony destroying the Virtual Boy in front of you because we know you're going to lose the contest, or I get the cable.
Well, I guess we'll know by the end of the year. There's a time frame on that one. That's gonna be rough. I don't know. I'm determined. I feel like he's buying a whole bunch of stuff right now in Italy that no one knows about, and it's gonna completely tilt the whole thing.
Yeah, and every purchase comes with a free pizza.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I wish.
Oh yeah, I'm fat enough as is. I wouldn't survive.
Hey, listen, those photos he's putting up of the food looks fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god. So you started with Nintendo. We're going to talk a little bit later on because you also have, I wouldn't say a full love for, but you played a lot of handhelds.
That is correct. I still have my original Game Boy, which I got in 1992 after graduating elementary school. My parents took me up to Consumers. For those of you that don't remember, who are younger than us, Consumers was this place you would go to where you would see the stuff in the catalog, go there, fill out the form, and get the stuff that was in the catalog. We got it from the Consumers, which was on 86th Street and 24th Avenue in Bensonhurst. And it still works. I've put up pictures a couple of times on the Retro Gamers page, Facebook page. Okay, now it's your turn to say where it is.
Facebook.com/Retro Gamers Podcast.
What he said. And when I was at the Retro Gaming Expo, I saw Solar Striker in the box, perfect condition for $20.
Oh, you can't beat that. Can't beat that at all.
And it's still here.
Gorgeous.
Instructions included.
The instructions were in there as well. I forgot about that.
Yep.
That box looks, almost mint. That's a steal. And it's a good game too.
It is a good game too. It's one of those hidden gems that you really don't hear about because I like the shoot 'em up games like that. Mm-hmm. Like that R-Type, Space Invaders. Your favorite Missile Command.
Terrible. I hate that game. I shouldn't say it's terrible. It's not a terrible game. I just don't like it.
No, Defender is a terrible game. I can never understand that game.
I'm hit or miss. It just depends on how I feel with Defender. So, but I'm gonna have to get used to a lot of these games now that I purchased the VCS. So,
yeah, I have the 3DS. I'm not the 3DS. The
DS?
Game Boy Advance version of Defender, and it's just what the hell did I buy?
Times were simpler back then. It's.
And that's why I really didn't go past Super Nintendo because when PlayStation came out and N64 and Xbox One, I looked at the controller and there were way too many buttons there for my feeble mind. I'm just going to keep it simple.
Yeah, it really started. It's funny. It got to a point where it seemed like no more buttons can fit on a controller. Then they started back, at least Nintendo, then started backing them off, going to, then you got the motion controls and everything. But it's like after they hit GameCube and they ran out of property, they're like, all right, let's back this up a little bit and let's try and simplify some of these buttons. Thank God.
Yeah, I had a GameCube, and I found it was just. I don't think I can handle this. I bought it on a splurge back in 2006 when I was laid up after a surgery, and it was just one of those dumb impulse buys that sat there and collected dust. And when I traded it in, I only got like $75 for that in 3 games. And the soup and you remember the attachment it had under the GameCube for the Game Boy games.
Oh, the Game Boy Player, yes.
Yeah, I had that also with it.
I see. That was. Did you play the Game Boy Player with the Game Boy Advance with the link cable?
No.
Okay, that's where to me that's really where the Game Boy Player shined. I mean, the Game Boy Player was just GameCube's version of the Super Game Boy that was on Super Nintendo, but it played Game Boy Advance along with the OG Game Boy and Game Boy Color. But what I liked about it was because the GameCube controller, probably my least favorite controller of the Nintendo controllers, was just so many freaking buttons with not necessarily a link, but like a data link cable. You were able to plug in the Game Boy Advance or Game Boy Advance SP right into the GameCube and use that as the controller for the gameplay on a television. That was really the only way I felt to truly play the Game Boy Player. It was a good try. Cool that Nintendo thought of the Game Boy.
Yeah, I did it once or twice with my Game Boy Advance, and it was just kind of, okay. And I can't find the card reader that I had for it. Because I had some of the specialty cards. Yeah, the e-reader. I have no idea what the hell it is.
Yeah, I know. I still have the unit, but yeah, God help me not only where the cards are, but I mentioned this a couple episodes ago, but all of my DS and 3DS games are just gone. They disappeared. Terrible. This is why I am now very much pro digital download for games, and it's annoying me that I still can't find. It was like 3 little boxes that I kept all the cartridges in. And
I still prefer having the game in hand, but the one thing I love about my 3DS, which we can touch on later, is having the virtual console.
Yes. Because
I am a Super Mario junkie. That's my favorite franchise of all time, and I have all of the games on my 3DS.
Okay.
Including the Japanese version of the original Super Mario Brothers 2. And the thing I love about that version is the fact that it's still in the original 8-bit graphics.
Yes, Lost Levels. Oh, that's right, because the Lost Levels we got was the jazzed up version on the Super Nintendo.
And a couple of the levels are different than what it is for the original version. That's, like water levels versus nighttime levels, little things like that. Couple of them are different.
I didn't realize that it was the 8-bit version. I may have to go back and get that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's my favorite Super Mario game, with Mario 3 being a very, very close second.
Yeah, Lost Levels was difficult.
Yeah,
it still is. I've yet to beat it, so.
Yeah, I've beaten it twice, and the thing about it is, with the old version, if you beat it 8 times, that unlocks the A, B, C, D levels, but you have to play all the way through. You cannot warp forward.
No, thank you.
Oh, no, it is tough. So the virtual console helps me in the fact that you can save the games right then and there.
Well, you know what? Let's talk. I mean, we can talk about it because we've been doing it now for a few minutes, so we can definitely get into the handhelds. So it sounds like Nintendo. Yes, and again, everyone always calls us out on it. I know we're heavy Nintendo, but whatever. Was Game Boy was your go-to? Did you own any of the other handhelds or anything like that?
I used to have my first one was one of the Game & Watches. I had the Super Mario Brothers Game & Watch, which also functioned as an alarm clock.
Yeah.
And, I had a bunch of the Tiger handhelds also.
Oh, Tiger handhelds were awesome.
Oh, yeah. I had baseball, I had pinball, I had a couple of other ones, and they were really good. And then I got the Game Boy, and I still have it, and I still play it, and Mary plays it also.
It's the original, like the original, because remember they came out like the different colored Game Boys and the clear Game Boys.
Original.
Cool.
OG first edition.
Yeah.
Along with the carrying case that looked like the big Game Boy.
You got that one? That's awesome.
Hang on, let me go get it.
Oh, I believe you. And we're going to see. Oh, I can't wait to see it. I haven't seen that in a long time. Game Boy definitely had, while Charlie's getting the who's whatsy, I just the peripherals, the carrying cases. I mean, the things that came out for the Game Boy. I remember the Angry Video Game Nerd, I think recently, did a video about all these add-ons you can put onto the Game Boy. Oh, look at that. Good Lord, I forgot how big that is. Wow. Oh, that thing's awesome.
I can do this without dropping everything.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, the Light Boy doesn't work even with new batteries.
Oh, its lifetime has seceded.
It's okay. It's ceased.
Ceased.
If it seceded, it would have separated from me.
That too. No, that's pretty sweet. And is that like was that basically your collection of Game Boy games, or just kind of?
Yep, I have all of them.
Okay.
And plus, the Soul Striker being when I picked that up in August with you guys.
Yeah, and then I picked that up probably a couple months ago, and based on actually your recommendation, really hearing how much you liked it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still haven't gotten past level 2. 20, almost 25 years later.
Now, have you ever really played the Game Gear or anything like? I know you had the Tiger Electronics and everything, but have you?
No, it was only Nintendo. It was Game Boy, my Game Boy Advance, which I still have. Mm-hmm. I had a Nintendo DS Lite that my wife bought me for my either birthday or my Christmas a couple of years ago, mm-hmm. and then 2 or 3 years ago for my birthday, she upgraded me up to the 3DS instead. And that's been my go-to.
Yeah, 3DS, and like you mentioned before, the Virtual Console on the 3DS. I'm a little. I wish they stopped adding Game Boy games on there. I think it felt like a couple years ago. I can't remember the last time they added a new one. I think maybe a couple Pokemon games recently.
Yeah, they still have a couple one for the 3DS because I have Mario Land 2. The Game Boy version of Mega Man 1, which is almost as difficult as the Nintendo version, which I am still trying to beat. Because I have the Mega Man collection on my 3DS, which with Mega Man's 1 through 6. Because my franchise preference goes Mario, then Metroid, and then Mega Man.
Okay. I guess Metroid 2 then on Game Boy? You have a...
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I just have trouble.
It's not really that tough. It's just a really, really good game.
Oh, very good. Yeah, there it is, right there. That I have on I downloaded on the console.
Yeah. And if you notice, the only issue I've had with this, the screw's missing in the back.
Ooh, how the hell did that happen?
I don't know. So it actually does open up, but it plays perfectly fine.
It's nice to see they use the entire case for the game.
Oh yeah, there's no drugs. There's no drugs hidden in this one.
A lot of room in those cartridges. You talking about also with not only with the Game Boy and the handhelds, but with the shoot 'em ups as well, like R-Type and all them, which came out on Game Boy. Game Boy had a really good, fair share of good shoot 'em up games for Game Boy. Even the Game Boy Color. I remember the R-Type version for Game Boy Color. I quite enjoyed. But one game, and I don't know if you even knew, I did not know this game existed, but there was a Gradius game on Game Boy. I think it was called Interstellar Assault, if I remember correctly. Interstellar Assault. I just discovered it like a month ago at the Retro Game Store. And I was actually shocked. I'm like, what is this? I don't know if you ever heard of that one.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I never played Gradius because, I always played Galaga anytime it's in the arcade because, you have to.
Oh, of course. Some other games. Let me get your opinion on how I guess the word would be evolution of the Mario games on Game Boy, because Super Mario Land look, I get it was early in the console's history. Graphics were what they were, but the drastic difference between that and then Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins, where that one you felt like you were playing, the Super Nintendo version, for what it's worth on a Game Boy.
Yeah. I have a couple of issues with Mario Land 2.
Mario Land 2, okay.
Yeah, 6 golden coins. My issues were, first off, there's no score.
Really? You know what? I never noticed that. Okay.
And and coins, you don't get 1-ups for 100 coins. Coins max out at 999, and that's it.
Wow, I just never know. I guess from playing the games, it's funny when you talked about the score. I just never. I mean, it just maybe just two different styles of gaming. I never paid attention to the score, which is why I always found Mega Man to be funny because there was a score on the first one.
Yeah.
But the coins, I never realized that with the coins.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Now I got to go back and check that out just to see.
Yeah, next time I play it, I'll post a screenshot.
Have you replayed purchased any of the Game Boy games that you own now on the Virtual Console?
Mario Land and Mario Land 2.
Okay. Just because you love the series, or just more convenient?
A little bit of both,
Okay.
because I bring it with me to work, and if I have to go anywhere else, I tend to take the 3DS with me, and it just makes life easier than trying to bring 3 different consoles into one place.
Fair enough. That's the beauty of that, beauty of the Switch, and kind of, I guess, Nintendo's idea when it comes to a lot of the handhelds or the portables. Game Boy Advance, what were some of your favorite games on that?
Let's take a look, because I still have that also.
Is it in a giant Game Boy Advance? Oh, no.
Yeah, that was a gift for my girlfriend, Christmas of 2002, because I said I was going to go out and get it right before Christmas, and then she decided to give it to me. Oh, hey, look, I forgot this was in my Game Boy collection also. Asteroids and Missiles. I got to put that back in there.
All right. I mean, Super Game Boy Advanced.
No, that's just a regular Game Boy console.
No. You can put it, when you put it in the Super Game Boy, it's all colored up and everything.
The thing I love about the Game Boy Advance is the fact that it is backwards compatible to the Game Boy and Super Game Boy Color. I think that's the mistake Nintendo made with the 3DS. It would have been nice to be backwards compatible with the Game Boy games. But my favorite one from the Game Boy Advance has to be Metroid Fusion.
Yes, great game.
That is one of the best Metroid games out there.
Fusion, I don't know if you got it too when you got the 3DS. I remember they had that situation where, like, the 3DS price dropped immediately after release.
No.
Okay, so what they did was
after that.
Yeah, they dropped the price very quickly on the 3DS, but people who already bought it were like, "Hey, we just got it already." So what they did was they gave what they called them like 3DS ambassadors or something.
Mm-hmm.
Gave us 10 NES games and 10 Game Boy Advance games as free downloads. The NES games have since been available on the Virtual Console. The Game Boy Advance games have never been available to purchase on the Virtual Console. One of them was Fusion, and I was playing that for, I believe I pretty much got to the final boss.
And of course you didn't beat it because you don't beat games.
Well, A, yes, but B, also, my freaking memory card crapped out on me, and it completely wiped out the saves. Oh, it was terrible because the game itself was saved locally, but the saves were saved on the memory card. Oh, I never went back. I was so frustrated. I haven't gone back yet. One day I will. But Fusion was really, really good. What are your thoughts on have you downloaded any of the Super Nintendo games on the 3DS?
I have Super Metroid, Mario World, Link to the Past, which I still have never beaten.
Okay. Do they play really good on the new 3DS?
Yeah, they do.
They do? All right.
Yeah. I haven't had any issues with gameplay or anything like that.
That's good. I've been thinking about some of those, but just haven't come across yet. I kind of feel like if I'm going to get a Super Nintendo download, I don't know. Me personally, I think I'd rather download it like from the Wii U or something, just play it on the TV. But again, the portability is a good idea. Have you, for someone who is very Game Boy, which is cool, have you downloaded any of like the Game Gear games on the 3DS?
No, I didn't. I haven't tried any of it. I should also mention I have the Retro Duo portable also, the handheld that plays the Nintendo and Super Nintendo games.
Oh, cool.
I put pictures of that up also.
I think I remember that. Yes, I think I saw it. Oh, that reminds me. I was going to talk about it a little later, but so just real quick, because I also bought an adapter to play Game Gear on the TV. So I got myself a Retro Freak, ordered it about a month ago from the UK, got it delivered, talked about it a couple weeks ago. Friday, I finally got first of all, the US adapter, so I could plug it in and play it, and also got the adapter to play Game Gear games on the Retro Freak, which will then play on the television. Actually, it plays Game Gear, plays the Master System cards, the Mega Drive cards, some of those games. But here's my dilemma, and I just discovered this now. So I go to put it goes into the Genesis port, obviously, because it's Genesis.
Okay.
I go to put it in, and it's not fitting properly. I'm like, oh, that's weird. Maybe just I'm being too gentle with it. Well, long story short, apparently whoever made the Retro Freak, I don't know if it was just the run I had, but the connector inside the system is just slightly smaller than the games.
Oops.
Because one side would only kept going in, so it kept, it would look, like on an angle. And I'm like, what is going on here?
Angle.
And I'm I'm almost breaking out a tape measure to measure it. And the freaking thing, they designed it wrong. Because regular games won't go in. So I don't know what to do now. So it won't play any of the Genesis games because they literally will not go into the system. But yet I ordered it from the UK. Do I even bother shipping it back? Do I even bother telling them?
Well, try telling them first. See if they come up with an issue with it. As long as it doesn't involve any toothbrushes, I think you'll be okay.
Because it'll play everything else, I'm assuming. Well, yeah, it will, because I tested it on the other games. It will play Game Boy and Game Boy Advance, which is good. I haven't gotten any TurboGrafx games, but it will play TurboGrafx. The system itself works really good, though doesn't seem like it wants to play the homebrews, but that's a whole other story. Yeah, but I gotta email him. And what's funny is, I guess I'll let the cat out of the bag. He'll mention it when he comes back. But Anthony bought a Retro Freak when he was over in Japan.
Ooh, that adds to his total then.
It will. But of course, his Retro Freak came with all the adapters, which I had to buy separately, and he ended up paying like $160 less than I did. Figures.
Oh.
So.
Well, we know who's winning that contest.
Oh, I knew. That's right. As soon as Josh opened his stupid mouth and mentioned the stupid contest, I knew I was going to lose.
How about I just take your credit cards away and become your financial advisor?
That needs to be done for a whole separate reason besides this contest. That I'm going to tell you right now.
Being the math nerd that I am.
But that's the Retro Freak, and it can go to hell at this point. But all the other parts of it work, and if your Genesis portion works, I'm sure it works great as well. Luckily, I have.
Did you research any solutions online for it, or?
I just discovered this today, but I've been running around, so I haven't had a chance to look into it. I will tomorrow. But I still have I have the Retro the Retro Trio that plays Genesis, so I'm going to try the adapter in that. Maybe that'll work. Because at this... Oh, I still have the box. I thought I threw away the Retro Freak box. Oh, maybe I can ship it back. Okay, I'm going to deal with that tomorrow. Really worried I threw it away.
Yeah, that definitely is a design flaw if things don't fit into it.
I'm like, why is this only going in one-sided? Oh, it was driving me nuts. Oh, well. Figures. That's my luck. I have the reverse Midas touch. Everything I touch turns to garbage.
Yeah.
So, do you, collect Game Boys, or is that original Game Boy pretty much the only one that you have?
One and done. I don't collect consoles like that, per se. The other consoles between Chrissy and I, she has her regular old Nintendo. I have most of the games for it. We have the Genesis player, because I bought that for her for Christmas a couple of years ago, and the music is really screwed up on it.
Oh, the Games one?
Yeah. And, we had the mini Famicom that Anthony got for us while he was in Japan many, many moons ago. Mm-hmm. And the PS3.
Okay.
And my wife still has her original PS.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, it's because it's weird. As much as I like to, I just get the systems. Game Boy always was kind of my niche as far as collecting all the systems and different kinds of Game Boys. Like I have, the Game Boy, the original Game Boy I have is the clear case one. Back in the 90s when the craze was clear. Yeah, see, that's the beauty. That's the OG. Yep,
yes, it
works.
Is. And Tetris is currently in it.
Nice. It's got some wear and tear, but some love.
What's that?
I said, got a little bit of wear and tear, but that's all love.
Oh, yes, it is. I mean, the damn thing's 26 years old this month. Yeah, 92, 26 years old. So.
And the whole thing's going to be 30 real soon. Came out in 89, so.
But it's very, very durable. It's like you and Anthony discuss, blue screens of death or whatever goes on with the Xboxes, and
that's only when I give him the Xbox.
Yeah, only when he gets But this, it's tried and true. Yes, it's basic, but we all know everything when it first comes out, everything was basic. You go from Pong, look to what you have now.
No, definitely. And talking about the durability of the Game Boy, I mean, it's a very famous story. We mentioned it before, and you can go see it at the Nintendo store in New York City, Rockefeller Center. They have the still working Game Boy that was involved in an explosion over in Kuwait during the first Iraq War. And I mean, the thing is, it was blown up. You can see it was charred, but it still works. And they just have it plugged in, and it's just looping Tetris. I remember growing up, friends of mine, 3 brothers. The oldest one had a Game Boy, like yours, the original one. The youngest one put it in the microwave. And it was working for a little bit. It eventually broke quickly. Don't get me wrong, because it was nuked. But it was like, it turned on, and it played for a little while. I think it played for a couple of days. It was a little wonky, but I remember him saying it played for a couple of days, and then it crapped out.
And the other thing about it, the graphics, of course, Mario Land being an example, but the gameplay and the games themselves, they weren't just cheap, chintzy knockoffs of the regular Nintendo games. Tetris is Tetris. You can't change that. But like Mega Man, for example, okay, yeah, it's the same robot villains, but all the levels are totally different. So it's a totally different style. Because I have Mega Man 2 on my Game Boy version of Mega Man 2 is totally different than the Nintendo version. The Mega Man, the Game Boy version has 4 robots from the NES version of 2 and 4 of them from Mega Man 3, and it also includes Rush in it.
Yep. And that, you're right, that's, I think, what really set apart the Game Boy. The Nintendo and a lot of the companies didn't just sort out to make a watered down version of an NES game. They didn't port a game to the Game Boy and make it a light version just because it's portable, it's a smaller cartridge and all this. I mean, they put their time, and you can see they put their time into it. And even with the ports, like Mega Man, like DuckTales, is a great example of, I think pretty much, if I remember correctly, the Game Boy version is basically the NES version just on Game Boy, which is fine. Again, portability. That's what I really like, because Game Gear, you can see whether it was Sega, whatever companies it was, they just kind of, I don't want to say they rushed through it, I'm not going to say they rushed it, but they just didn't put their all into it. They just basically made a smaller version of whatever games, the Sonic, Tails, Shining Force, whatever it was, Shinobi. But that's what I loved about the craftsmanship of the games on the Game Boy. They really... And again, Game Boy Advance, different ball game because it had better graphics. But the OG game...
We can get into that, too. Yeah, but the other thing about the Game Boy also, battery life. When I turned this on, I had the batteries in there for years, and it just turned on without any issues.
Well, anything was better than the Game Gear battery life. Yeah. I mean, 6 batteries, and as soon as you turned it on, you needed to replace the batteries. So, Nintendo was good. And then Nintendo... That's why I was asking if you ever collected the Game Boys, because it went from the Game Boy, then it went to the Game Boy Pocket, which was a smaller version, and it went to black and white as opposed to green, which was cool. I didn't mind that. And then the color, and then they moved on to the Game Boy Advance. The Game Boy Pocket was actually my favorite design. I mean, there's always love for the original, but the Pocket was it was smaller, black and white, which made it look a little bit crisper. And actually, the one I got is pretty cool. It was for the 100th issue of Nintendo Power. You were able to buy a special gold edition Game Boy Pocket that actually said Nintendo Power 100 on it. So I love that one. And
is Nintendo Power even still published?
No. They stopped. What now? About 3 years ago, maybe.
I still have a Nintendo Power. With the one that has Star Trek on the cover, because it also has the maps and everything for the original Metroid on Nintendo, which is one of my favorite games of all time.
Really? That's
yes. Cool. Yes, and I have the Super Metroid game guide that came out with the game, because I still haven't beaten that one because it is just long and difficult. I also have the Game Boy Advance guides for Zero Mission, Fusion, Yoshi's Island, and Link to the Past.
That's cool. Zero Mission, that was basically a remake of the first one, right?
It was, with a little more quirks in it and a little surprise at the end once you beat Mother Brain, and I won't give out spoilers.
Yeah, I want to get my hands on Zero Mission.
So you have to go out and buy it yourself, folks, to find out what it is, but it is definitely worth your time and money.
The new Metroid, actually, that new 3DS
Samus
version.
Returns.
Yep.
I have it.
Is it good?
It is very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
The controls are kind of, and I haven't really touched it in a while, but it is a tough game. I'm really not impressed by it, but I'm going to play it through. Unlike you in Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest.
I'm so happy Rippo finished that game. I hated that game.
Oh no, that game's a pain in the ass. I understand. I actually have the original Castlevania on my Advance also.
And I want to mention also, if you like Castlevania, I mentioned it last week, but I screwed up the title. So I will now correct myself. So a editor's note from last week. New game that just got released, Bloodstained, Curse of the Moon. It's a new mini game for a larger game. Bloodstained's going to come out later. It was a Kickstarter. It's available on Switch and Xbox One and I think Steam. And to me, it feels just like Castlevania 3 on the NES.
And if you ever get bloodstains on your clothes, OxyClean gets them out.
Just in case, people. Just in case.
Tips from my previous life.
So with that, with all the handhelds, besides Mario series and Metroid, what would you say is a really good sleeper hit for the Game Boy? Kind of one that's a bit obscure, or Game Boy Advance, bit obscure, but kind of one that's not part of the norm.
Ooh, for me, it would definitely be Solar Striker.
Okay.
Star Trek: The Next Generation is actually a good game. Also, I have that.
Okay.
And also the Game Boy version of Donkey Kong.
Yes. Agreed.
Yes, that is a very, very good version because it starts out like the original Donkey Kong, and then it just totally takes off in a different direction. And I'm really not a puzzle person because it is a partial puzzle game, but it was the way it's set up. It is a really, really good game. It's enough to keep you interested and keep you thinking without making you go bonkers.
No, definitely. I agree.
That's definitely a sleeper one, along with Solar Striker for me, obviously.
I agree with Donkey Kong. Some of the original games that came out, Alleyway, very simple and straightforward, but God, I played that game for hours on end. And then it was a pinball game, Revenge of the Gator. It's a silly pinball game, but again, another one from the early days of the Game Boy that just played hours and hours and hours on end.
Oh yeah, Tiger, the Tiger handheld pinball game, that was a really good game because it was actually a decent gameplay, and also most of the Tiger handhelds, how they were white.
Mm-hmm.
Pinball was blue, and it was a nice dark blue, and blue is my favorite color.
Okay, well, that's cool.
Yeah, some kid near my grandmother's house on West 11th and Avenue O stole it from me, and I never got it back. And if I find it, I just got to bash his skull in or something.
Fair enough. We don't condone violence, but I get it. I
wear my kilt while I do it too.
Fair enough. So let us know some of your favorite handhelds. Let's hear from the Genesis people. Let us hear from the Game Gear people, the Lynx. One of the handhelds I never got my hands on, but I always wanted, the N-Gage, the Taco cell phone. Always wanted it.
Don't give up PSP, PlayStation Portable.
Oh, PlayStation.
I don't know. Can I consider retro yet?
We were talking about it. We're thinking yes. Came out in 04, 05. And they stopped production on that. They stopped production on the Vita just recently. Vita's too soon. But I would definitely say, and I feel like Anthony would agree with me, that the PSP definitely would be considered a retro system. I'm
going to say his opinion doesn't count because he's anti-handheld. So, hi, Anthony. How am I doing so far?
You're doing fantastic. Don't you worry. He's not here. I'm running the ship.
vbsux.
Say it again. I talked over it.
#vbsux.
There you go. I like it.
And every time you look at me in Skype, you get to see it.
I see cha-ching. That's all. That's what I see.
36 cents.
Now they have the new cell phone cases. I got to put that together as well.
I'm sticking with my OtterBox for that one because I have an iPhone, and I'll tell the OtterBox story. Now, the company I work for, so you know what I did. Mm-hmm. And one day I was taking it out of my pocket after I finished my job, and it bounced at Stillwell Avenue,
Ooh.
Coney Island. You know how that's an elevated station there.
Yep.
It bounced when I took it out of my pocket. It bounced. It slipped out of my hand, bounced onto the platform, bounced under the train, and then bounced down to street level.
Oh, good Lord.
So but we're talking about 30 feet. So I ran downstairs, start looking around the intersection. One of the bus operators honks his horn. He's like, Yo Motors, did you drop your phone? Yeah, I put it over there. I picked it up. Not a scratch on it.
Wow.
Yeah, so I actually called OtterBox, let them know that this happened, and like, wow, that's awesome. We're sending you another one for free.
That's awesome.
If they make OtterBox for Switches or anything, or any of your handheld games, they are paramedic proof. So I definitely would suggest them.
That I don't blame you then for not having any other cell phone case. I don't blame you. Actually, I just picked up this one, Iron Man cell phone, and this is an OtterBox. Iron Man. This one glows in the dark. Actually, it's pretty cool.
I got the Defender series because it's just
Well, what you got to do, you need a little bit thicker. This is but it also gives a good weight to it as well.
For past and current life, I have to stick with OtterBox.
Fair. Listen, with that story, I don't blame you at all.
Yeah.
So check out OtterBox.
The best thing is it's lifetime warranty, lifetime replacement. So if something happens, you just call them, let them know what happens, and they send you a new one.
Sweet.
Yes.
OtterBox, the unofficial cell phone case of the Retro Gamers and Charlie.
Very unofficial because we're not getting anything for this, except for maybe a cease and desist letter.
Yeah, maybe. I'm waiting for a lot of those from all my other shows anyway, so it don't matter.
Okay.
So let us know what you think about the handhelds. Do it right at the Facebook page, facebook.com/RetroGamersPodcast. Let us know your history of portable gaming systems. All right, so we're going to jump ahead a little bit from old school handheld games, but we're going to talk about something new, but is still old in theory. Basically, the AtariVCS. We've mentioned this before on the podcast. Atari's coming back with a new home console, and it went live on Indiegogo on May 30th, and already this thing has blown the roof off.
I think the most important question is E.T. included?
You know what? I'm trying to figure that one out because
now go ahead.
I don't see it yet listed on anything, but there's no official listing. But there will be, and you can still purchase the system on Indiegogo. You can check us out, check the Facebook page of either AtariVCS or the Retro Gamers. There'll be links there. Out of the box, even without hooking it up to the internet, there will be preloaded over 100 classic Atari games, and we're talking about original arcade or 2600 games that are already going to be pre-installed onto this bad boy. And the I want to say Kickstarter, but the Indiegogo who's the Watsy is just, I cannot believe the amount of people that backed this system.
You kind of have to put E.T. in there as a joke because it's such a historically bad game that people are going to want it. It's like a car wreck where you pass on the highway. You don't want to look, but you have to stop and look. The game is bad when my 5-year-old daughter at the time plays it for 30 seconds, looks at me and goes, "Daddy, this is horrible. I don't want to play anymore." And that's exactly what she did at the Retro Gaming Expo. And then she kicked my ass in, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles too. We played it. We played it, and she lasted longer than I did, and she used Raphael.
Oh, really? The first Ninja Turtles game on NES?
No, the second one. The arcade version.
Okay, much better version. E.T., I'm going to say it's probably not included right now, only because I can only imagine the rights to get the game onto this thing. But here's kind of a quick rundown of the AtariVCS now that we have more information on it. It will, besides these games being preloaded onto the system, you will be able to. There will be an online store where you'll be able to download new games, both literally new games because it's. I'm not going to say it's a Steam box, but it will play Steam games. They also said that, I guess, down the road, if other publishers want to make available, some of their Atari games, they'll be available for download. So all the rights and everything are still with the original publishers, from what I read. So I guess all the original publishers are still going to get credit, probably still going to get a cut, which they should.
It would
be great to see E.T., though. ET was 26.
Just as a joke. That and Superman.
Superman. Oofa.
Yeah, because that was another bad one. But, you definitely have to hope Asteroids is on there. Missile Command, even though you despise it. Let's see what other ones. Adventure has to be on there.
Yeah.
Pitfall, Breakout, Arkanoid. Let's see what other ones.
You could have those. Centipede, Millipede, Robotron.
Not Pac-Man, though, because the Pac-Man version was pretty bad also.
I hope the Pac-Man version.
Hubert, the wife said Cubert.
Cubert, hopefully.
Hubert.
Tempest. And speaking of a game like Tempest, excuse me, they also showed demo of a game called Tempest 4000, which means it looks like also that will be updated versions of these original games.
Oh, and also Yar's Revenge. You need the shooters.
Yes. I'm looking forward to Adventure. I never really sat down and played Adventure, the game with the first ever Easter egg in it. So,
yeah, I played it, and it is a little difficult because you know how the Atari games are. They really didn't come with instructions. It's more of okay, find out.
Yeah.
Did you see the video on YouTube how somebody beat ET, and I forget how much time it was.
5 minutes or something?
Yeah, no. I'll look that up while you talk.
Actually, I think Anthony posted it on the page.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So, talk a little bit more about this AtariVCS. Now, it's closed system, meaning you don't put cartridges in it, you don't put CDs in it. Everything's going to be download. Everything's going to be, I don't want to call it an emulator, but it'll all be digital download.
Yeah, I think it's 5 minutes and 56 seconds.
Which I think is nuts for ET. I was watching that video. I'm going to be honest with you. It gives me a Billy Mitchell feel to it. Like, I feel like there's something going on that video. I don't think it's a straight shot. I don't know why.
No, but the game was just, if a 5-year-old can't even tolerate it, what does it say about the game?
That's what you get for back then in the 80s, pumping out a game in 6 months with one guy doing the coding.
Oh, yeah. And Nintendo basically saved the video game market because of that.
Oh, absolutely.
Screw up by Atari.
Absolutely.
They took a big risk with the Famicom and then, the U.S. version of the Nintendo Entertainment System, and it basically saved the industry.
No, definitely. But Atari was, right before we started recording again, you had mentioned Atari was your first system. Yep. Atari was my first. Atari's going to be a lot of first systems for a lot of people our age. I remember getting the Atari. I don't remember if I had technically the 26. I may have started with the 52.
And my uncle, because we didn't have it at the house, we had it at my uncle's. My uncle lived up in Brewster, and we'd go up there, a couple of weekends a month, and that's where it was. While our parents were still sleeping in the morning, we'd all play Atari, and there were 5 of us, so. I'm the oldest of 5 and who had to try and keep everybody in charge and keep everybody from waking up the parents.
Everyone keep it on the down low.
Yeah.
So this user experience of this AtariVCS is very clean, very straightforward, very, very simple. It kind of has this modern feel to it. When you go to the Indiegogo page, there's a couple YouTube videos, a couple of, GIFs or GIFs or whatever you want to call them, just showing some movement of how the menu screen will work. Actually looking at it now, granted, these may not be official games. They're probably just using it for the photo, but you got Centipede, Crystal Castles, the Sword Quest games. Looks like Yar's Revenge will be on there. I remember playing Combat with the two with the 2 tanks.
Yes, that's another one I loved playing.
Actually, is there? Wait a minute. Sword Quest. There's Waterworld. There's Fire and Earth. All right, I thought they put out the other one that they never released. So this thing is also not only going to play games. I think I mentioned it before. It will have streaming devices, so you will be able to watch Hulu, Netflix, things like that on there. It will have an open source Linux, I believe, so you will be able to create your own games. You'll be able to make homebrews. There's 4 USB ports on there. Now, whether or not that's for additional controllers, possibly maybe future down the road peripherals to play the physical cartridges, who knows? That's just things on my mind. That's not stuff that they posted on the Indiegogo page. But you will be able to plug in you can't plug in Bluetooth, but you can have Bluetooth controllers, USB game controllers, not necessarily the ones that are being sold on Indiegogo. It looks like you may be able to use like PC ones.
Yeah, I have a USB adapter for Nintendo and Super Nintendo controllers.
Oh, I've seen
I
those.
think it was retrousb.com.
Mm-hmm.
Because I bought that when I had the emulators. I still have emulators on my laptop.
Okay.
Okay, you could do your legal disclaimer now.
As long as you own the cartridge, you can own the emulator.
I do.
Okay, good. You'll be able to plug in mouse and keyboard into this thing. It will allow external storage, webcams, microphones, because this thing is also going to be heavy with streaming, where you'll be able to stream your games. I think Twitch, I don't think they may have a major hand in this system as well, because it looks like you'll be able to broadcast through Twitch, and not only that, when you watch the Indiegogo like promo video, kind of do it on Kickstarter as well. Explains what the whole thing's about and why to do it. One of the guys is the guy I think in charge or created Twitch, so I feel like they're heavy into this, which is going to be heavy with broadcasting. Headphones you'll be able to plug into it, and of course it's going to be wireless or Ethernet adapter. And as of right now, well, this is going to drop by the time this drops. I don't think the deal will be available. Oh, no, it'll still be available. So here's the rundown of the different perks, as they call them, on Indiegogo. And the pricing, I don't think, is too bad for a home console. For $300 plus shipping, you can get the collector's edition of the AtariVCS. Now,
Well, that's not too bad, considering how much the Xbox Ones or PlayStations go for.
Not only that, but it will come with a controller. And the controller is an original-looking Atari controller. Yes, it's Bluetooth.
Joystick. It's a joystick.
True. No, you're right.
Not even a controller. It's a joystick.
One joystick, one button.
With one of the paddles also. The dial paddles. It would because you would need that for something like Breakout.
Hopefully they'll put that out. Unless the thing already twists itself. Who knows?
I don't know. So, it's good.
But it's really cool. I mean, it's very modern because when you watch the demo, when you use the joystick, it actually lights up. So if you press forward, top half will light up. Down, the bottom half will light up. You hit the fire button, the whole circle lights up. So it's very modern with that old school feel to it. And the collector's edition VCS will have real wood on the front of the system, just like the old fake wood paneling that used to be on the old system.
Because who doesn't like real wood?
I listen, real wood rules.
Phrasing.
Oh, yeah. So that's going to be for $300. You can also get what's going to be, I guess, the standard version of the VCS, which is just basically the Onyx, all black with a red, like the Atari logo will glow in red. That right now will also go for $229 with the joystick. Or
pretty expensive wood.
Well, that one won't have any wood on it.
Oh, exactly. That's why. Yeah, that explains the price drop. No wood.
And then there's different combinations. You can buy the Onyx one without the controller, which is $199 right now, which is an early bird special. Looks like that may be the most popular one. And then they also sell the joystick by itself and a modern gaming controller, a more traditional gaming controller you'll see with the with the Switch and the PS4 and stuff like that.
So let me ask you something about this, because it seems like they're adding a lot of extra bells and whistles for it. I mean, is there really need to do like streaming, Hulu, and other stuff on that? Because you think about it, everybody else has, you would think everybody has other devices that they can use to do that. For example, if you have a PS3, Netflix and all that other stuff, we're disconnected from cable. So we have the Amazon Firebox, One of the things that these companies need to keep an eye out for, you want to make sure you don't put too much in there, because if you get people like me where it's, okay, all I really want is just the classic games, I really don't need all these bells and whistles. Why am I going to pay the extra X amount of money for things that I'm not going to use?
Okay, and it's funny you mention that, because it was on my way home today, it was, I was actually thinking to myself, the same situation with DVDs and Blu-rays. Like, who needs a standalone Blu-ray player anymore when you have...
I still have one.
In the same room as your game systems?
Yes.
Okay, well then you're going to be... Well, then you're not part of this conversation. But when you have stuff like...
It's the Department of Redundancy department. That's because I had the Blu-ray player before I bought Chrissy the PS3 for Christmas. So.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But like now with the Xbox One X, that is a 4K Blu-ray player, so I don't have to go and buy a separate Blu-ray player. when I bought the PS3, I actually bought it kind of for the Blu-ray player and for the gaming, which is also why it was like $700 back then.
I mean, that's okay because, it already has the DVD, it's playing the DVD for the game. So that's kind of that kind of makes sense. But to add to add Hulu to the Atari, unless Hulu is downloading video games is really, I don't see the purpose.
Here's why I think, and also kind of why I think, like with the way Xbox does it, like Xbox, how can I put it? Technically, out of the box, the Xbox One, or the One X for that matter as well, won't play DVDs or Blu-rays. You actually have to, like if you're not connected to the internet, you actually have to download an app, if you will, on the Xbox to play a DVD. So what I'm getting at is I think something like that is so minute as far as storage. Like Hulu, all you need is just basically, I mean, I don't know how the streaming services work, but I'm assuming all you need is the IP address to get to the site, and then it's all Hulu from there. It's all Netflix from there, because you got to pay extra for those anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't have an issue with all these things having those apps, because I don't think that adds any money to it, because these apps are so minute, so small, in my opinion. Also, for something like this, I still feel there's people out there who don't want a PS4, don't want an Xbox One.
That'd be me.
But may want the VCS because of the nostalgia factor, just like the NES Classic. Well, at least the original idea of the NES Classic.
I mean, I have no reason to get an NES Classic now because I have the Famicom Classic.
True. Well, there's a couple games difference, but it's not a major difference. But that's why I think
it'd be nice. It'd be nice to play it, without it having to be dangling off my fireplace mantle. Hint, hint.
All right, all right. Here we go. I will send you the HDMI. That will be your compensation for being on the show today.
I'll believe it when I see it, because you've been saying it for the past 10 months now.
Well, now you know me, so now you know that. I eventually get to it. Late, but I eventually get to it.
Mm-hmm.
Which
is going to happen first, Larry? Which is going to happen first, Anthony destroying the Virtual Boy in front of you, or me getting my cable?
Maybe both happen at the same time. Merry Christmas.
Well, to be honest, I will be upset when he destroys it, because, all joking aside, your passion for it.
That's why he wants to destroy it. He's known me for
I understand,
25 years.
Because I'm the same way. I could be an evil, sadistical bastard too. So
I'm gonna cry. I will. Just like every time I watch Follow That Bird. So
for me, it's Star Trek 2 when Spock dies, but there's an actual sentimental reason for that. Right after Sandy, my best friend died.
Ooh.
And he was the Spock to my Kirk. And going off topic, last week I took my dad's where I get my Star Trek nerd from. We went to go see Star Trek 2 at the NJ Pack in Newark after we feasted on dead meats and swords in the Ironbound. And I tried to do it, and as soon as Spock died, the tears.
That's it.
The tears came.
That's okay.
Yeah, it does happen. Although the best part, the funny part of that night was when Kirk destroys the creature that came out of Chekhov's ear. One of the people sitting behind me quips, "Captain Kirk never misses his shot," so I quip right back, "That's because he's not a stormtrooper." Everybody lost it.
And nerds go crazy around the world.
Oh, yes. I threw Doctor Who and Monty Python references in there throughout the night also.
There you go. That's how that works.
Oh, yeah.
So I think basically to kind of just wrap up this part with the VCS, it already goes online. It already has, the capabilities and the storage capacity. You can have an external HD, you can have an SD card. So I think adding those little factors like streaming services is one thing. The fact that you will get in this day and age, everyone's streaming. Anthony streams a lot. I don't get to as much just because I don't have really the proper setup that I would like. But once in a blue moon, I will. But with everyone streaming, this system almost seems like part of the design factor is to live stream. And I think that's a really cool aspect to it. It has cloud storage. It has
Yeah.
actually, you know what? Just to get into for the tech nerds out there, it's got 4 gigabyte DD4 RAM, 32 gigabyte eMMC memory, Bristol Ridge A10 CPU, Radeon R7 GPU. I don't even know what half this stuff is. I just know it sounds cool.
Radon. I think radon's the stuff that leaks out of the groundwater that can kill you or something like that. I had to get one of those tested when I bought my house.
You can use Skype or Discord, for example, to game chat. It will have voice command, kind of like the Xbox Kinect.
VCS, go make me a sandwich.
I wish.
Yeah, the live stream definitely sounds nice because I have that issue also. I would love to live stream when I play the games. You know, me and Anthony have discussed it, but I don't have the setup for it right now.
You know what? I don't have a problem with people who just use their cell phone for live streaming. To me, it's my philosophy with live streaming is my philosophy with podcasting. It's just if you just have anything that you can record with, use it. Yeah. Get it out there. Down the road. You or anyone can always upgrade if you wanted to, but just prop the phone, fire, just
and make sure the cats don't knock the phone over as they fight for your attention. Cats and children.
That's pretty much. That's why I don't have either one.
Yeah.
The joysticks.
Well, even my daughter. So yeah.
The joystick and the mod controller are going to be Bluetooth, and they'll charge with USB-C. Of course, rechargeable. And the controllers and the joystick is also PC and Android compatible. So I guess if you have an Android phone, you will be able to use the controllers on those, is what I'm assuming.
I should probably put the disclaimer that does not mean my daughter's a terror or anything like that. But she is the product of 2 nerds. That's all I have to say.
And that's the best part.
Oh yeah, you've seen her play the games and whatnot. Even though she wouldn't get up and talk on the show.
Aw, next time.
Yeah.
It's 1:17 a.m. from when we're recording. She should be in bed.
Well, I'm not talking about her right now, but when we're at the Gaming Expo in August.
Oh, yeah, that was cute. Yeah. I kind of don't blame her because that live stream, that was our first one. It was a bit sloppy.
That was fun, though.
It was very fun.
The look of sheer horror on your face when I ran across the table, picked up your broken Virtual Boy, and started taking off across the hall.
Again, I didn't know who you were, and I just bought this thing. I was like, son of a gun. And then the final thing I'll say about the VCS with this, if you do purchase it, the tentative shipping date is July of 2019. So, of course, they got to start making them, which they're going to start doing now. But this thing...
It'll be Christmas next year.
It could be. I'll forget about it before it shows up. But this thing took off like a rocket. Just to put it into perspective, like I said, it went live 9 a.m. Eastern, May 30th. It is now. So now,
does that count as a retro purchase for the contest? And if it does it count for this year because you already paid for it this year?
As usual, Josh has to give the ruling, and if I know Josh, it's going to work against me. So probably. I will assume that I am. You know what? At this point, I don't
think it should count because you don't have it in hand.
True, even though technically my card was already charged.
Yeah, but you can always renege it and return it if you don't get it. So, I'm siding with you on this one.
And to show the popularity of this with the Atari, what are we now? So May 30th, 9 a.m. it went live. It is now 1:18 a.m. on June 3rd. And the goal was $100,000, and they're currently at 2.3, almost 2.4 actually, $1 million.
And yes, you heard the time right, Eastern time, because I work night shift and I have to go back in tomorrow night. So this is my night to stay up.
So check it out. Go to Indiegogo. Do a search for AtariVCS. Check it out. We have posts on the Retro Gamers Podcast Facebook page. I really think this thing is really cool, something fun to own, and I think it's also a really easy way to get some of those Steam games onto your television. So let us know what you think. I want to hear from you. All right, so as usual, I got to keep the format because otherwise I'm going to hear it all the way from Italy. So right now we're going to do this week's Cheat of the Week. So welcome aboard, Charlie, for this week's cheat. I figure, we're both heavy with the Game Boy, both heavy Nintendo. I went off a little bit. We're actually going to do a game.
And we're both heavy in person, so I'll keep the flow going. And plus, if you screwed up, all you're going to see is a wooden spoon come flying across and whacking in the head from Italy while Anthony's cursing at you in Italian. Kind of like the hammers from Hammer Brothers.
Hey, I like it. I like the comparison. So,
Oh, well, the Hammer Brothers are my favorite enemy from the Mario games because they are. That's not one of the 7 words, is it? I mean, you're okay. Are you going to bleep that out or no?
that will be a user decision when I go back and figure this out.
I think Anthony will side with me on that one.
But
okay, the Hammer Brothers are very, very difficult to beat, and we have the same mentality. So, okay, how's that work?
I'll be honest with you, we've had worse on the show, so don't worry about it. So we're going to do a Game Gear game this time for Cheat of the Week. And it's actually going to be Sonic the Hedgehog, which came out in 1991 for the Game Gear. And basically, it's an extra life on any level. So at the end of any level, if you have less than 50 rings, which means you can't go to the bonus level, what you want to do is you want to run through the turnstile and then stop and jump straight into the air. If the turnstile is off the screen when it stops spinning, when you come back down, it should show a picture of Sonic, thus giving you the extra life. And you do this.
And then you'll find the transit police there waiting for you for a fare evasion.
They got the radar gun going every time for them. And this will work on any level, so you just rack up the free lives, Sonic the Hedgehog on Game Gear, and that's this week's Cheat of the Week. All right, so we are going to head to a closure on this episode of the Retro.
That was a very bad Shatner-esque closure.
I wasn't even trying to go Shatner. I'm going to be honest with you. Wasn't thinking Shatner, but I can see, I guess I was. I am not.
It is okay.
I've told you my Shatner story, right? When I met Shatner.
I think
He was a little bit of a jerk.
What's that?
He was kind of a jerk. Not like purposely, just like inadvertently a jerk. I met him at Comic-Con.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I met him at New York Comic-Con. He was the only guy who charged extra for an 8x10 ever. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I go up to him. My friend tried talking to him, but my friend, he was just with me, wasn't paying for an autograph. So Shatner kind of put him on the pay no mind list, so I didn't bother with him. And then he signs the autograph. It was a photo of him from Star Trek 6. And so he signs it. Now, this I know was a bad move on my part. After he hands it back to me, I go, can you put my name on it? So he looks at me, he's like, okay. So as he's signing it, he goes, check out the flyers for my new album. He had that spoken word album come out a few years ago. I'm like, oh,
Rocket Man is great.
So I go and grab...
I have it on my iPod.
So I go and grab one of these little mini flyers, and he's like, please don't take a flyer. I'm like, you just told me to take a flyer. He's like, if everyone takes a flyer, I don't have enough to reprint. I'm like, you're William Shatner, and you're charging an extra $5 for your 8x10. What do you mean you don't have enough money to reprint some sort of stupid flyer? Oh, he was very, very dry.
Sidebar about that. My dad used to work at a pish-posh home improvement store on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. So he get a lot of celebrities in there. The one day Patrick Stewart came in, and he helped him with some plumbing issues. Home plumbing issues, not internal. And so they were talking about it, and my dad asked, if he can get me an autograph. So he said yes. So my dad didn't think about it. So he was off on vacation. He came back. His manager told him, look, there's something, that bald guy from Star Trek dropped something off for you. And I got for Christmas in 1995 a personalized autograph of Patrick Stewart.
That's cool. I've always heard Patrick Stewart was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm the only guy you probably know who's gotten into issues with 2 different Star Trek actors from 2 different generations.
What was the other one?
Will Wheaton can go bite my...
Okay, Sheldon.
No, honestly, he was the first one. He's the first. Now, I've gotten into issues with a few celebrities at Comic-Con. Trouble follows me sometimes. Yeah. So I meet Will Wheaton. First of all, it didn't help that the guy in front of me, who must have put out some sort of like homemade next generation documentary on YouTube, which I think focused on Wheaton's character. Because Will Wheaton's like, oh, I've seen this. This is awesome, blah, blah, blah. Guy gave him a DVD of it. Oh, thanks. I'm like, all right, well, I can't follow that, but whatever. So I go up to Wheaton, and I'm sure I told the story before. I go up to Wheaton, and if you can take 5 seconds, slow it down, and stretch it out to like 3 minutes.
Yes.
I put my hand out to shake his hand. He puts his fist out to do a fist bump, as I later realize he's a bit of a germaphobe, so he doesn't want to shake hands.
Rock,
So
paper,
we're
scissors,
now
lizard, Spock.
what?
Rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock.
Pretty much, it almost got to it.
Yeah.
So now, what also was a few seconds, but felt like minutes for me. It's like a
Yeah.
standoff, waiting
Yeah.
who's gonna budge, and then I kind of like do the fist pound, like, ugh,
Yeah.
all right, whatever.
Yeah.
So I get the autograph, and I go, oh, also by the way, I was wondering if you do something for a friend of mine. Now she wasn't there. He's like, well, what is it? I'm like, obviously I'll pay more. Can you do a drawing? Because he's been I guess he put like doodles or whatever up on his Instagram for a little while. So he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, she would be interested if you just made like a doodle for her, something very simple. And he's like staring at me. He's like, I don't draw. So I'm like, all right, look, I know you don't draw, but you do something. I have a blank piece of paper here. Can you draw something for a friend of mine? It would really help me in the long run if you could do this for her, which it, of course, did not help. So then he like ends up doing like a stick figure, like a very simple stick figure, and then in the little bubble just puts, I am not an artist. I was looking, I'm like, thanks.
That's
like,
funny though.
Nothing.
That is funny. Now we went to a Doctor Who convention in Baltimore a couple of weeks ago, and if you saw my profile picture, I don't know if you're a Whovian, but I have a picture with Peter Capaldi, Peter Davison, and Colin Baker.
I did see
5, 6, and 12.
I don't watch Doctor Who, but I get, I know of them, and I thought that was a really cool photo.
Yeah. And Daleks are my spirit animal for obvious reasons, but those guys, they were very, very humble about it. I'm like, gentlemen, it's an honor to meet you. Oh, no, the honor is ours. Thank you for coming. And they just walked around the convention hall, them and all the other stars, just like normal people, and people left them alone. I also got a photo with William Russell. Now, William Russell, for those of you that don't know, he was the very, very first companion from 1963 when Doctor Who started. I have watched every single episode from 1963 all the way on. Now, he's in his 80s, so people were going through kind of like running the mill. Okay, he's old, let's just do this and whatnot. Now, I went in, and you could tell he was kind of a little bored. So I went in there, I shook his hand. Mr. Russell, I just want you to know this is an honor because you are my favorite companion from the original series. And his face lit up.
That's awesome.
It is tough for them because when you think about it from their perspective, they never get to get out of their character per se. They're standing there signing hundreds of autographs. You get some people that don't know how to be respectful, and you get people, if they're walking around, they get hounded. So, when they go to these conventions and whatnot, they're basically trapped as prisoners. If I see someone, a celebrity or whatnot, I just kind of, I'll do the nod and I'll leave them alone, especially if they're sitting down eating with their family or whatnot. That's just, leave them alone. That's just human decency and common sense, but then again, if common sense were common, everyone would have it. Like Nintendo having the common sense to cancel the Virtual Boy much sooner because it was just that bad.
And with that, we're going to end the show. So, Charlie, thank you very much for
being on. It was a pleasure.
On.
I had to get a good one in there. It was nice to know that every time you looked at me, you had to see the # vbsux across my chest because I refused use the term hashtag. But it was indeed a pleasure. Thank you very much. I would like to definitely return for the 100th episode super special.
We will. We still have to plan that out, and we're 5 episodes away. So.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. But no, truly, thank you very much for being on the show. I'm glad that you were able to help out with Anthony jet setting and doing his thing.
And his hatred of handhelds.
Yes. Well, I wouldn't say hatred as much. He was never, which I think is why he's not crazy about the Virtual Boy. It was just another handheld system.
It wasn't a handheld. You're the one who's mentioned playing it in bed at Comic-Con, so.
Yeah, this is true, too. So,
yeah, I touched that one because it would go down a very, very bad.
It is the PG show of the More of the Same network. We'll get you on the better half. There we can open up. But no, again, thank you very much, Charlie. Enjoy the gaming. You definitely do a lot of cool posts on the Facebook page, which we do truly appreciate. You are one of our super fans, one of our original fans, and honestly, me and Anthony truly thank you for that.
Well, thank you very much for having me once again. I definitely will do this again. as long as you guys are okay with it. And I think the next time I'll see you probably in person probably will be the Long Island Retro Gaming Expo.
I hope so. We'll talk, like I said, we'll talk about that more starting next week. And with that, everyone, thank you for downloading, listening to the show. Remember, wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find the Retro Gamers, along with the Better Half, the Yin and the Yang podcast, all part of the More of the Same network. Instagram at @the_Retro Gamers, Facebook.com/Retro Gamers Podcast, and of course, the website, theretrogamers.com. We will be back next week with yet another guest host as Anthony continues his flight circumventing the world, and I will catch you right here next week on The Retro Gamers.
vbsux.